Well, hi. How are you? Good to see you, Lothar. Yes, there's nothing up on the black screen right now because we are getting the expect high traffic message and yada, yada, yada in the game client. How's everybody doing today? It is Tuesday, late morning, early afternoon here on the west coast of North America, or close to it anyway. And I am here in Well, I'm almost here in EverQuest Legends, which is the new EverQuest adjacent licensed product. Um, and we are going to be playing some old school EverQuest with a Switch. We can multi-class, we can solo almost everything. Supposedly, it should be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to it. But right this very moment, I'm getting a lot of login traffic. Of course, they're going to be staggering as they let people in. I'm playing on my original account, um, which of course is, I mean, how else would I do it, right? But I did log in for the open beta, the pre-order beta, and that was cool. Reserve my name and all that kind of shit. So we should be in like Flynn once we can actually join the game, which, might take a minute or two. Mr. Lothar, Iskar Master Race, let's go. Is that what you're doing? Nice. Yeah, I don't think I'll be playing an Iskar. I played one before, many years ago. Um, but I think I'll chances are good, more than likely, be playing some kind of elf because that fits the name that I reserved. My original character name for EverQuest from back in 1999, the later part of 1999, anyway. And I haven't played EverQuest at all. I did play some EQ2 with a couple of friends a few years ago. I have logged into EverQuest a few times over the years to kind of, stand around in the plane of knowledge and see if anybody I knew was on and look at the guild tool and see when the last time somebody was on and so on and so forth. But I left EverQuest about 2 months into Omens of War and went over and played World of Warcraft because my wife at the time and most of my friends were playing that. So we are um, Oh my God, did I get an actual? Whoo, look at that. All right, we have got a server selection screen, you guys. Now, none of them are marked role play prefer, so I have a feeling no matter what I do, I'm going to run into people named Tim War or John Powell or whatever, probably infinite variations of Legolas and all of the other stuff that folks love to do. Um, but I don't have a plan for what server I'm going to be on. I don't have a plan exactly what I'm going to do. I originally thought I was going to do, I don't know, a paladin wizard because my backstory for my original character, which was a high elf wizard, was that he was a former paladin who was grievously wounded in combat and could no longer wield a sword, and so he became a wizard. But unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess, depending on how you look at it, I don't have to worry about that anymore because I could be both. But I'm not sure that I really want to play a paladin wizard. In fact, I might go for a necromancer SK or uh, necromancer enchanter. Who the hell knows? We'll have to see once we get in. There's some servers here that are already up and about, and they're all the classic server combination, which I believe in this game is going to be the original EverQuest from Live 1999 plus Kunark plus Velois. So we'll have to see how that goes. But yeah, I don't have any particular affinity for one of these servers or the other. I don't know anybody else who's playing. Haven't really kept up with any of that. So I'm thinking I might go over here to Rivervale because halfling toes are delicious and see what I can make happen with that. Maximum capacity. All right, well, that's fine. Maximum capacity on Freeport. Maximum capacity. So I'm guessing we're all maxed out, which is a nice start, I suppose. It says server status low, but of course, none of that matters. Um, okay, you're in the login server for this. Oh, wait, hold on a second. Let's read this. Let's actually read. If I can adjust my old man reading glasses. The world server is currently at maximum capacity. You are still in the login queue for this server and will automatically log in when there is availability. Average time is wait 8 minutes. So cool. We're going to do that and see where that takes us. I think. Do I have to leave that up? I have no idea. We'll go ahead and start there. So Rivervale is going to be the server that we pick because halfling toes are delicious, if I remember correctly. And we will see what kind of character we can make once we get inside. We know for sure we've got our name, so that's a big plus. Let's see some EverQuest stories. Gather around, children. Gather around and listen closely while I tell you the stories of the old magic. Lowell, read the message instead of just clicking the other servers. Zed, Zed, Zed. My attention is divided 3 different ways right now. But you aren't wrong. Reading the messages is important. But we're going to go ahead and just leave that thing up and see if that wait time clicks down or anything else. What's up, Will? Will's Petting Zoo and Gardens, ladies and gentlemen. Good to see you, buddy. Good to see you, Zed, Mr. Lothar. Thanks for stopping by and checking this out. I don't know how long I'll play EverQuest Legends for. It might just be for today, and I'll get my fill, and that'll be the end of it. But I am looking forward to running around and seeing some of the old zones and doing all of the old EQ things. I'm curious as to whether the tunnel is going to be the trade post for this particular game, or if it's going to default to some weird um, Shadows of Lucklin style, bizarre type effect. I don't know anything about it. I've been on the Discord enough to see when the game is launching. I got in and I reserved my name. And that's basically all I did. I think I ran around in the tutorial area and upgraded my boots to be slightly faster boots than the standard ones that they were handing out for doing uh, the server or the portion of the game that was the tutorial. It was really old and janky looking. Once I got those boots, I logged out and I never looked back. Just waiting for the launch day so that I could be pleasantly surprised by everything that was going on, or pleasantly annoyed. You know how MMO launches are. But I haven't played EQ at all since about the second month of Omens of War. I did go on to play World of Warcraft for several years with my wife and a bunch of friends. I even played in a heroic slash mythic raiding guild for a little while. But I haven't done any of that really, other than just a little bit of a detour into World of Warcraft with Renfail and the gang a few years ago. Not a really a big MMO player anymore. I kind of moved away from MMOs over the years and into single player games. I have tried a couple of the ones that came out, and I did play the Secret World all the way through to the end of the main story. I did play Age of Conan. Let's see, what else? I tried Eve a long time ago. Um, Bounced right off of it the very first session that I played it. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to diving in and seeing if I can have a good time with this old janky stuff, because I have nothing but good memories about how that all used to be. And It was a lot of fun. I played it when I was a much younger man. It was one of my very first PC games ever. I was already 29 when I played my first PC game, because I was far too busy in my 20s doing other things and didn't even have a computer. We didn't have computers in our high school or anything. So when I graduated, I didn't know anything about them. And to be honest with you, I always thought computers were something that wasn't for me. And then I got a job working for AT&T in the late 90s. Had a kid, got married, bought a house, the whole 9 yards. And my company moved me to Conyers, Georgia. And all of my friends were back on the West Coast. I had my wife, of course, but she was you know, doing her own thing as well. I had the job. A couple of people we met at work. We did the barbecue thing and all that kind of stuff. But I was looking for a replacement for D&D that I could log into. And I remember buying EverQuest at Circuit City in Conyers, Georgia. Just kind of flipped around, looked at the box, read about as much as I do now, Zed and Gerd, uh, and went home. And I got home and I installed it, and then I got this pop up, if I remember correctly, saying, "Hey, you got to buy game time for this." And I was like, "What the hell? Like, I'm already paying for the internet. I already paid for the game." And so I sat on it for like 2 or 3 days because it wasn't a money thing. It wasn't like $9.99 was a shitload of money for me at the time, but it was just the thought of it. I was like, "That's such a weird alien concept." And after a couple of days, I decided, fuck it, go ahead, subscribe for, put my credit card in or whatever it was, and subscribe for a little bit of time and see if I like it. And by that time, I had talked to my dad, the chief, about it, and he wanted to play too. So he got it, and he was already started. It didn't bother him at all that there was a credit card thing and a monthly subscription fee. So I jumped in and made the character Lysander, and he was a high elf wizard who worshipped Tunare, because I had no conception that either worshiping Solusek Ro or being neutral was a much better way to go, because I had never played a game like that before and didn't know anything about it. And we must have spent well over a year leveling to top level. I think it was close to a year, maybe even a year and a half. And we had a blast. We had a good time. Met a lot of cool people. This old, well, not old, but at the time he was older than me. I think he was about 38, and he was a army recruiter who had just retired after 20 years in the military. And he was this incredible enchanter named Ilidar, and we played with him a lot. And then there was Ildidar and his wife, and then I got my wife playing it, and my stepdad, of course, Tom, the chief, and off to the races we went, and we very rapidly had a relatively large group of people. So much so that when we ran from the west coast of the map of EverQuest in Kinos over to Freeport at about level 20, we had to form two groups and get both the wives on the phone to coordinate for us. And it was a crazy blast. It was like the pre voice comm thing, and that was the closest way we could keep the groups coordinated while we made the Hail Mary run from Kinos to Freeport. It was a blast. We had a good time. But right around the time Omens of War came out, I was feeling a little burnout. My wife had already decided that she was going to be playing World of Warcraft and not EverQuest anymore because she had fallen behind for various reasons related to the birth of my second child, and she had no interest in struggle busing to get caught up with everybody else, and she wanted to play Tauren in World of Warcraft. So I went over there. Got to keep the household harmonious, as they say, and played World of Warcraft for several years. And then around 2009, 2010, I pretty much gave up on maining a MMO. Uh, kind of got away from games for a while, formed a new band, made a couple records, um, still had jobs and took care of the kids and the wife and all that kind of stuff. But when I came back to gaming in 2013, I came back with Skyrim, which was already a couple of years old at that time. The rest is modding and Bethesda history for the most part. Um, but I have played a few MMOs here and there, and nowadays they call everything an MMO. So Dune's an MMO, Conan's an MMO, Fallout 76 is an MMO. But let me tell you something. Back in the day, this is what an MMO was. It was server select, capped number of players that could actually get in on that server at any particular time. And it was something else. Your name was your passport. And if you fucked around and drove your name into the ground, you wouldn't get invited to groups. You wouldn't be invited to the good guilds. You wouldn't be able to do any raids. It was a very different time. And as my friend Renfell likes to say, nowadays people have so many options for what they can do with their time that no one's going to be sitting around for 4 hours spending 80% of that time chit chatting and 20% of that time pulling and then sitting back down to med back up and restore their health and all that kind of stuff and wait for the next pool. This game threatens to change all of that for EQ. It's supposedly faster paced. It's soloable. You can grab a group of 4 people and run off and do a raid or something. It should be fun, and I'm looking forward to it if I can ever get in. The average wait time on the queue thing here doesn't seem to be going down any. I'm not really sure what that's all about. Black coffee. But yeah, Mr. Lothar, where are you playing? What is your I guess Iskar is what you're playing. Um, but what server did you pick? Are you even in yet? Are you at work? I know you said you were going to be playing. Um, I don't know anybody else that's playing. I mean, personally, I know a couple other streamers that I follow, like Redbeard Flynn, for example, is playing. But you know, Redbeard's a old EQ head like me, so he's down with the sickness and ready to play the new EQ. I've never played on a progression server, at least not past level 5 or 6 or so, and then usually only months after it launched. So I always missed out on that first day, launch day experience. So I'm looking forward to seeing what I can do with this. And I plan on doing it for the majority of the day today. We're not going to be doing Conan Exiles for today and today only because it's the launch day of this new special thing. Probably take breaks here and there. Get up, give the dogs treats, stretch my legs, exercise the eyeballs, looking at something further than arm's length, and so on and so forth. But we're going to see if we can grind any fun out of this experience and just kind of take a walk down memory lane. I can't wait to hear the theme song. I'm looking forward to that most of all. Probably get dinged on YouTube for it, and they'll take away the monetization they're not giving me anyway. Um, but who gives a shit? You know, it'll be fun, and hopefully we have a good time. And if it is something that I really, really enjoy, maybe it's something that I play once or twice a week in my off time or whatever. Hard to say. But in the meantime, we're going to have some fun with it on launch day and kind of experience what that MMO launch day thing is all about. Did get to experience that with Dune last year. That was kick ass. Had a great time with that. People running everywhere, doing quests, building stuff. It was a lot of fun, but not really the same kind of thing. It's 40 people or so on a siege, and this is one of those things where you could round a corner and see, two, 300 people clogging the tunnel in the Eastern Commonlands. It's been a long time since I played a game where that type of experience is even possible, let alone probable. So we'll see where it goes. I don't know, guys. What do you think? Should I hit the OK button and trust that it's doing something, or should I leave the thing up so that it knows I'm waiting for a particular server? Or is it just confused because I clicked on every single server before reading stuff, as Zed pointed out, and doesn't know what to do with me? It's almost impossible to say, but I anticipated that this would be a thing. Real quick, the thumbnail for this was thrown together with 3 easy board thumbnail signature blocks from the old days when I was a member of the Graphs Wizards Compendium easy board message board for EverQuest for specifically the wizard class. Let's see. So yeah, we've got Lysander Fraley, member of Kiss. That was always kind of a little in joke because I was always a rocker boy, of course. We've got Grand Theft Auto Vice City because right in the middle of playing EverQuest, I took a break and beat Vice City 100%, and got the T-shirt that says I beat Vice City 100%, and all I got was this lousy T-shirt. Um, and so we made a joke of that for my EverQuest 6. So it was Grand Theft Auto Vice City. And then the other one was a drawing that I did of my character. I'm nowhere near the artist that my oldest is, but I made a drawing of that character and made it in a tarot card frame. So he represented like a playing card or a tarot card of one of the wizards because I was one of the named wizards who posted frequently on the wizard message boards. I was one of the first wizards, first being relative, of course, obviously, to learn how to quad kite without a guide, for example, to get the staff of temperate flux or temporal flux without a guide. And I started my epic, but of course I ran into a couple of roadblocks with that. Um, and so by the time I finished it, there were guides and stuff aplenty about how to do it. But I had started it beforehand until I ran into the brick wall that was Finnegal Atropos over in the underwater zone. I think it was 33 total kills of Finny, where I was the dedicated wizard who had dibs on the piece for the Staff of the Four, and it never dropped, and it never dropped, and it never dropped for almost a whole year. So every time he was up and the guild wasn't too busy, we'd all get together and try to farm Lysander's piece. And as a wizard, I wasn't really a high priority, but I was a high enough priority, and I eventually got it done. Got my Staff of the Four and all that kind of good shit. But yeah, it's hard to say what's happening here. One of the bad things about this that I can point out so far, and hopefully they address it in the future, although I guess might never be necessary again, is that this old style, you know, server selection box here with these funky old buttons and all that stuff, they don't really provide any feedback as to what's going on behind the scenes like modern games do. So it's impossible to tell whether you're actually doing anything or not, whether anything's happening. And that's unfortunate. But hopefully, we'll see what happens here in a few minutes if it decides to actually log me in. I feel like it's been much longer than 8 minutes already, but it's hard to say. Anybody else ever play the original EverQuest back in the day? Hello, Virgil. Welcome in. We are over here waiting to see what happens. And hopefully we get in soon. Well, Rivervale's a high server and all the rest are medium? Of course it is. Of course it is. And now it says 25 minutes. Wow. That's crazy. Hopefully, I'm still in the queue. No way of knowing. It's been 14. Yeah. Well, now it says 25, but I haven't clicked on any other server. And according to the message here, it says that I'm already in the login queue. So who the hell knows? I'm kind of loath to pick a different one at this point, just because it would be hard to tell what my progress is and whether or not I'd lose progress here. I don't really have a preference where I play, but I definitely don't want to wait all day to get in. Otherwise, this might be a very short stream because I have a funny feeling that we'll get to a certain point and waiting to see if I can get in or not will be the world's most boring stream. So we'll definitely give it a little bit more time. Trying to think of some good EQ stories. Let me tell you this one because I know the Chief is going to watch this later because he's, you know, 83 now and he doesn't play PC games much anymore. But he does, get on his tablet and play Kings and Crosses or whatever the hell he's currently doing. Um, yeah, the joy of waiting in queue. But back in the day when we first started playing this, we were working Orc Hill. Um, and that was a place in um, EverQuest on the elf side with the high elves and the wood elves, where a lot of groups would form and a lot of stuff would happen at the very low levels. Your 6 to 10 or 12 or so. And then generally we'd run into Crushbone. We didn't know this at the time. We didn't know anything about Crushbone. We knew it was there, but we also knew that it was probably a little too much for us. And at one point, the pools were kind of slow. There were 3 or 4 groups in and around the Orc Hill area, and the chief dropped the party and said he was going to go ahead and backfill him. He was going to run off and kind of explore a little bit. And so we kept playing. One of our other friends jumped into the party. We were having a good old time, and all of a sudden I look down at my chat window and I see a message from Rotten Shot, which was the chief's character, and he was a ranger. And Rotten Shot sent me a tell, which is a private message in the game, and it said, "Buddy, dot dot dot, lost all." And I was like, "What does that mean? Lost all? Like, did your character die?" Like, because in those days, I don't know how it works now, but in those days, when your character died, you spawned in your small clothes with no weapons, no armor, no rings, no nothing. None of your stuff, none of the things in your bags, none of your bags even. You just spawned with your character sheet and absolutely nothing at all, and you had to go recover your corpse. And so I typed back to him a couple of times, and I got like Unk, Wick, just various things. He was furiously doing something, and later on I realized that he was running around trying to get back to his body, but he kept getting chased off by orc centurions. So I called him because we just live right down the street. Because when I took the job in Conyers with AT&T, he transferred from AT&T in Denver, as I did, to Conyers and took a job there as a tech. So they had a house right down the street. So I gave him a call, and I was like, "What the hell's going on?" And he goes, "Oh, I was exploring and I died." And I was like, "Well, where the hell did you die?" And he goes, "I'm not really sure, but it's up by CB, which was Crushbone." And I was like, "Oh my God." So everybody that was in the group, thanks, Dorgan. Sleep well, buddy. I appreciate you dropping by and leaving a like and giving me the big thumbs up. Hopefully, we get in here pretty soon and we can have a good time. So we took off from Orc Hill and we started wandering closer and closer to Crushbone, trying to figure out where he was at. And never saw him, at least not until after we found his body. But we did eventually get to the hallway that led to the zone line for Crushbone, this dungeon that we were all not quite ready for and sort of terrified of. And I remember one of us accidentally logged into the Crushbone zone. We crossed the line a little bit too much, and we had no voice comms at the time. So it was like they disappeared. They were still in the group, but their name was grayed out. Their spell bar was grayed out, their hit points. And we figured that's where they went because they were just right there with us. And so rather than following them in, we all kind of waited. And within a minute or two, they came back out and they were like almost dead. And they were like, you know, holy shit, don't go in there. And we're like, did you see his body? And they were like, no idea. There were bodies everywhere. There's monsters everywhere, orcs everywhere. So we healed him back up, got him back to fighting strength, and then we all kind of timed it as best we could, and we all zoned in. And I remember zoning in to Crushbone for the very first time and seeing orcs everywhere, crowded in this little hallway section. And there were a couple of other groups of people trying to fight him. There were dead bodies from various characters and players everywhere. Um, and meanwhile, Tom had been frantically trying to give me permission to drag his corpse. And we had done that a time or two before just for convenience sake, but there was never really a desperate need to do so because it wasn't like it was somewhere where you couldn't get to. All that came many, many years later, of course. But he called me back and he's like, I'm trying to get you to drag my corpse. And I'm like, I would drag your corpse if I could see your corpse. How far in did you get? And he was like, far in. And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, I died at the zone line. And I'm like, well, we're all at the zone line. Just zone in and look for your body. And it turned out that he hadn't died at the zone line. He had actually wandered in when somehow it was magically pretty clear and hung a right and moved up towards the hill in the center of this zone and died somewhere over there. So eventually I had to go drag his body back. Um, and he was able to loot up and get most of his stuff back. I think he got all of his stuff back. He later on lost some of his stuff again to another death, but it was pretty crazy. It was our first ever dungeon, and we all went in way before we were ready to because the chief decided to explore a bit. So yeah, there's my early game EverQuest tale of Buddy Lost All, which he reminded me when I talked to him on the phone yesterday to tell you guys about because to this day he still thinks it's the funniest thing in the world. He was so furiously trying to type to me that all he could get out was Buddy Lost All. And that was our first ever experience of, oh my God, somebody's going to lose all their gear. Unbeknownst to most of them, of course, I had already lost all my gear, I think twice by that point. I just didn't say anything to anybody because A, it was kind of embarrassing, and B, I didn't really give a shit. But I had lost my wizard robe and the original staff or dagger that I was given. So I was running around in like the small clothes, but I had like boots of something or other. And I had another staff that some higher level character had gifted to me. And it wasn't that big of a deal to me. And they all thought I did it because I didn't like to wear a dress. And so that became a meme over the years. You know, I was the wizard that refused to wear a dress, and so on and so forth. And I don't think I wore a robe again in EverQuest until I was in my late teens, early 20s era, which sounds ridiculous to most of you guys who never played these old school games. But that was months of real life playing almost every day after work and on the weekends, because leveling back in those days just took forever, and you couldn't solo, and you couldn't really grind it out other than to get a group and find a corner somewhere and pull and kill and rest and pull and kill and rest. But eventually, we got to the point where we were sailing back and forth from the lesser, greater Fadark, or whatever the continent is there, where the butcher block dwarves were, and the docks on these ships that sailed every 20 or 30 minutes. And we decided to explore the intermediate zone, which was ocean. I think it was called the Ocean of Tears, maybe, or the Isle of Tears. And I found out that there was a robe there that was a rare drop off of some person, some creature, some NPC, and it looked badass. I was standing on the docks one day in Freeport, and this guy comes running up, and he was like a gnome, but he was wearing this robe, and I'm like, oh my God, that's an awesome looking robe. That looks so different than the solid color ones that you get as your racial starting robes. And he was like, yeah, it drops off so and so in the Ocean of Tears. Super rare. Probably have to camp it for several hours. And of course, Bubbles Luck being what Bubbles Luck is, that was true. Took some friends over there. that weekend and camped that guy for, I don't know, about 8 hours or so, and killed everything around him, and just kept over and over again trying to trigger his spawn. We found out later, of course, that spawns were on a timer, and he was on, I think, like a 2 hour timer, but lots of stuff would appear around him every 20 or 30 minutes. And so we just kept the area clear and kept killing him every time he spawned. I think the third or fourth time, about 8 hours into the whole grind, my robe dropped, and I wore that thing until I was raiding the Plane of Time with a guild called Pravis Mortis. And I was always a coattail rider. Yeah, because like I was friendly and outgoing, and I wasn't afraid of dungeons. I learned all the Kunark dungeons by heart when that came out before any of my friends did. So I was the wizard that led the party into the dungeons, which was super rare because most of the time it's a tank or a healer that would be the party leader. But I would put the groups together, take people into like down near or any of the dungeons over there in Kunark, and show them the ropes, show them where everything was at. We had a great time doing that. But because of the reputation that I built, both on the easy board at Graphs and in the Solusek Ro easy board Discord, um, nobody ever had a frown when they said my name. And so I was invited by a good friend of mine named Jen, who played a character called Ilaria. And she had left the Sisterhood of Roses, which was the sister guild to our Defenders of the Rose, and joined a raiding guild called Pravis Mortis. Pray for death. And Pravis was vying for server firsts during the Lucklin and Time era. And so I joined with them, was on probation for a few weeks. You know how it goes with these old guilds. Finally got a spot in the main raid. I think at the time these were 72-man raids, so it wasn't terribly hard to get a spot, but you still had to pass the interview and do all that kind of stuff, show up every night, have all your trinkets in a row and everything you need. The Dizox minimizing device was super important for some reason. Of course, the So boots, I forget what they're called, Journeyman's boots, or was that the Wimpy pair? They were the higher end pair that you had to farm for. Um, and I had all my ducks in a row. I got invited, and I was one of the, you know, 6 wizards or so that was part of the raid team. And we marched through the elemental planes over and over and over again to get everybody keyed up and did everything one step at a time to beat this other guild called the Syndicate of the Gods, who were always trying to grief us and stop us and, steal our pools and this kind of thing because it was a free for all back in those days. There was no instancing. So when you had to race to the the bosses in these various raids on server up or whenever they would respawn, and so we were constantly fighting this other guild, and we managed to get into the plane of time. And I think by that time I had a robe that replaced the one that I got in my early level 20s from the character over there in the Ocean of Tears or the Island of Tears. So it was a very different kind of world back in those days. The connection has been terminated by the server. Good God. Okay. Well, um, not the greatest start to the whole process here. I tell you what, we'll take a look again and see where everything's at. But I'm not sure if we're going to get a chance to play EverQuest today. Everything's high except for the European servers, of course. Um, I sincerely doubt that I'm going to be remembered if I try to go to Rivervale again. So I'm going to pick um, something different and see what it says. I was just sitting here caught up in the story. Yeah, 34 minutes. Guys, I don't think this is going to happen as much as I would love it to happen. Um, but I don't think that we're going to be able to get in today. I'm not really sure. Let me check a couple of things here real quick. EverQuest Legends. Um, Login queues launch day. see if anybody else is struggle bussing with this one. Let me check real quick on. Let's see if Redbeard Flynn is in. He's the only other person that I know that's actually playing this right now, or planning on playing it today. And he may be running into the same problem I'm playing into. He was probably smart enough to not try to stream it, but of course, I've never been accused of being terribly smart. So, yeah, I don't see him on YouTube. Let's try Twitch. Mr. Redbeard Flynn. I just want to see if anybody's able to get in. There he is.
Summer is back, along with Chipotle honey.
Nope, we're not going to do a Chipotle commercial. I'm not getting paid by Chipotle. Uh, let's type in EverQuest Legends up in the Twitch box here and see if anybody's on. Okay, it definitely looks like there's some people that are in the character creator live right now, or even in the world. A lot of people looking at a lot of streams where they're just looking at the same thing I'm looking at, and a bunch of them also have the box in the middle because clearly they don't know whether clicking that box removes them from the queue or not either. Um, yeah, what a struggle. Well, I mean that's MMO launch days for you. That's just the way that goes. In the old world, Bubbles was definitely the village storyteller. Oh man, I love a good story. So many different things happened in EverQuest back in the day. It's almost impossible to even figure out exactly where to begin. And frankly, 99% of it has fled my brain over the years because I just didn't keep up with it too much. I was fortunate in that many of the people that I played with back in those days, including a guy named Baz and his wife, a guy named George, a whole bunch of other people I kept in touch with over the years, and I'm still friends with. Nine Toes, otherwise known as Varangi, and Lou. We never played together on the same EverQuest server, but we met on the message boards and became friends there. He was a rogue, so he was mostly on the rogue easy board, but he spent a lot of time on the Grafts easy board as well, and we were a hell of a community. So there was that. My friend Chris um, played in an Uber guild on a different server, and I've gotten to keep in touch with a lot of these people over the years. The people that I played World of Warcraft with as a coattail rider in a heroic slash mythic raiding guild for 6 months or so there. At one point, when they decided they were going to get hot and heavy about raiding, um, were also people that I had played EQ with before in the past. So I was able to keep in touch with a lot of people. I just never felt much of a draw to go back to it. Once it got past the planes of power, I felt like that was a nice little bow on the whole story. And I wasn't really willing to put up with any of the stuff that came much past that. It didn't hurt that, my wife at the time wanted to play the other game, and so did most of my real life friends. So it was an easy decision to make. But I definitely get nostalgic for that song. I definitely have watched streamers, Redbeard Flynn, video makers. Um, I found Renfail because he was streaming EverQuest of all things. It's just one of those kind of situations where I always kept a toe in it, but never really played it. And like I said, probably 4 or 5 times over the last 20 years, I've logged in, stood around in the plane of knowledge where everybody was getting their buffs, checked to see if anybody I knew was online, checked the guild tab to see when somebody was last online. And it's always been one of those things where um, the last time somebody was online was a month and a half ago. And you're like, oh my God, they were online a month and a half ago. And then they probably logged in 6 months later and went, oh my God, he was online 3 months ago. And, it was just one of those kind of silly situations. I did definitely play EQ2 at launch um, for a few minutes, but nobody else had a computer in my friend group that could run it at the time, so I bounced off of it, came back to it with Renfail and some friends, and did it for a few weeks a couple of years ago. It's not the same. I'm not knocking EQ2 or anything. It's awesome, and I'm sure that there's a lot of cool things about it. But for me personally, it just didn't have that it factor that EverQuest, the original, did. And I've jumped on a couple of progression servers over the years, but usually, you know, 2, 3, 4 weeks, a month, 2 months after they launched, and missed the whole hoopla of the launch day of a new progression server. So I thought this would be fun to experience. And then there's you. Yes, that's right. That's right, Lou. And then there's you. We never played together in the old days. We were always on different servers. Kind of funny how that works. And you sure the hell didn't just willy nilly go over and play on a different server just because you had a friend over there. Not in those days. You couldn't transfer characters. That was number one. And number two, like I said, even if you played every single day for 4, 5, 6 hours a day, it could still take you the better part of the year to level up to 50 or 60. Um, and get to the top level again. And once alternate advancement points, AA points, came into the picture around Luckland, that made it even more ridiculous to assume that anyone would ever change servers just to play with somebody that they knew in real life. There was just way too much time invested in your character back in those days. I think I figured out that I could have earned a degree in college with the hours that I had spent in EQ just by the time Omens of War was a couple of months old. And that was another reason why I stopped playing because I was like, I really should just go get another degree or something. Like, I should do something productive with my time. Little did I know, um, even though I did a lot of that stuff, little did I know that I would look now on my Steam thing and see that I have 6,000 hours in Fallout 4, a single player game. It's a big ass game, but it ain't that big. And that's mostly because of mods and stuff like that. I love a good modded playthrough of a Bethesda game. And that's become the substitute for my MMO Jones. But EverQuest was the first, or one of the first anyway, PC games that I ever played. In fact, my laptop that I had at the time didn't even have a graphics card, a dedicated graphics card. Nobody's did in 1999. Those weren't even a thing. And you didn't need one to play a video game. It wasn't necessary. There was something on board for graphics already, and there were drivers for it, if I remember correctly. The biggest problem was always the sound card drivers. Like, those would cause your games to have problems. Whereas now, when was the last time any of you ever even thought about like updating your sound card drivers? Unless you have a problem that kind of points you in that direction and you need to, get the new BIOS or whatever for your included sound, whatever it is that you have. I don't even know what this computer has for a sound card anymore. It's just not even a thing. But at that time, that was far bigger than a video card because they did not exist yet. It was not a thing until I don't know, probably around Luckland. Lou, am I right? Luckland or Plains of Power, the first machines with dedicated graphics cards, removable, hot swappable, upgradable graphics cards were starting to come into the fore there around 2001, 2002, maybe 2003. And then, of course, that was a whole thing, and we've been racing to the top ever since then. Uh, Same with memory. I think six. How much RAM did we have back in those days? Two, six, something. And now my machine's got 32, and that's small. I have friends that have, 64 um, gigabytes of RAM in their gaming PCs or their studio production PCs for music or content creation or whatever. It's just okay. So the connection to the server will be terminated long before you could ever get through the queue. Top notch, Sony or Dog Paw or whatever the hell you're called now. Oh my God, that's classic. Well, I tell you what, as much as I would like to keep waxing nostalgic about the good old days, you know, maybe I'll try this again a little later if I can ever get in. RAM used to be 56. Yeah, it was in the megabytes, right? We didn't even have gigabytes of RAM back in 1999, I don't think. I think it was megabytes. Um, but things have changed. I mean, you're never going to run out of middle age or older guys who will tell you all about how the world used to work back in the day, yada yada yada. Um, we're out there in droves, and apparently we're slowly dying off. But it is what it is. Um, I am going to go ahead and cut the stream short. Sadly, guys, I will keep trying every once in a while to log in, but I think as long as the server average wait time is higher than the timeout for the entire client, um, all of this is masturbation, but not fun, because you're never ever going to get in except by continuing to hope for the best when you first log in. So um, rather than subject all of you guys to me frantically over here going, trying my best to defeat a system that was clearly designed by people that didn't anticipate this kind of demand, I'm going to go ahead and call it for now. But I may be back later today if I can ever get in. I thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out and hearing me babble about the old days in EverQuest. And I wish I had some gameplay to show you, but unfortunately, apparently, that's not my luck in life. And I did try to log in the 20 minutes prior over and over again just to see if they launched early or something, or if I could get a spot in a queue. And there was nothing until right at 1 o'clock my time. So, luck of the draw, I didn't make it. Bubbles is going to leave you guys to do whatever it is you're going to do this afternoon. I'll probably find something else to do with my life as well. It's just not that important. My name is reserved. At some point, I'll be able to log in, and I hope I'm able to log in sometime in the next 24 hours, because the first 24 hours of a new MMO is an experience unlike many others, anyway. Uh, Come run missions in Dune. Yeah, yeah, I probably will. Um, but I'm not going to leave you guys hanging and listen to me babble and tell my stories, as Thorkin would say, without something to listen to and something to see on the screen. So we will call it for now. Thanks for coming. I appreciate you guys logging in and all that kind of stuff. You mean the world to me, and I really do mean that. Keep rocking those chroma kids, and keep modding your games, and loving as much as you can get away with. I think it's the best way to do it. Play more